Hello, everyone. This is Devin Thorpe for Forbes. I'm a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. And today I'm honored to have as our guest Judy Robinett, the author of How to Be a Power Connector. And Judy, thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm delighted to be here.
Judy, you and I have had the opportunity to get acquainted fairly well over the last couple of years. Interestingly, you and I love to mention that we met in Texas, despite the fact that we both live here in Salt Lake City.
Absolutely.
We met at a crowdfunding conference, and I've seen you at a number of conferences working the room. And when you give networking advice, people need to understand that they are getting networking advice from the absolute guru and master of networking. I'll never forget Washington, D.C. last summer. We were both there at Rodney Sampson's Kingonomics conference, and I think you met every person at that conference. And I'll never forget afterward mentioning to you that I had been out for a run with someone that we'd met at the conference, and you knew all about him. You knew his name. You knew. And he was just sort of a random person at the conference. He wasn't speaking there. He was just, you knew everyone. So you are remarkable. Remarkable. And so you are the authority on this. So let's talk a little bit about why people that are sort of mission-driven, whether they're for-profit or non-profit, I want you to just talk about why they need to be thoughtful about networking, because I think many are not.
So I think the first obvious is a lot of people think they need to focus on quantity instead of quality. And there is research that shows, it's called the Dunford number, that you're limited to about 150 people. After that, groups start falling apart. And so one of the most important things is to really focus on the quality relationships plus strategy that will get you to a specific goal that you need to. So people that are in the social space, you just can't walk into any funding room, whether it's angels or VCs. You have to be cognizant of what ecosystem you're in. So that's the strategy piece.
Why do you think it's so important for people who have sort of a mission-driven philosophy to be thoughtful and strategic about networking?
Well, the first one probably is because a lot of people out there don't agree with you. And so you'll go and try to get funding. And the number one thing that I often hear from people is, I don't care about social good. I want to make money. So there is a distinction between those who are now leaning towards, as you know, Devin, the social entrepreneurial space. But you have to make sure that you get in the right room and find those people. Otherwise, you're just going to keep hearing no, no, no.
No, so it's your first point is key. Then you got to be in the right room, meeting the right people. It doesn't matter how good you are at networking if you're in the wrong room.
That's right, and probably 95% of the people I talk to, they're indeed in the wrong room. And it's great to learn how to work a room, but you've got to make sure you're in the right one and in the right ecosystem. Otherwise, you just bang your head against the wall.
What are some of I want to step back, Judy, and just talk a little bit about why you focused on becoming such a successful networker. How did you become a power network and why? Let's go back to the origins of what's your story?
Well, my story was that I grew up very shy in rural Idaho. I didn't know anybody of power, influence, or money. And as I moved forward in the corporate world, I started seeing that it was very dependent on knowing the right people, having access to ideas, to information, to money. And those are really critical resources to making about anything happen. And so
Oh no, we've lost Judy. We've lost Judy. Let me see if I can get Judy reconnected here quickly. Back into the call so that we can continue this discussion. Hang with us there for a moment, folks. Let's see if we can get Judy back. We don't want to miss out on the opportunity to get Judy's insights. Her book, How to Be a Power Connector is a remarkable book. It's available from Amazon.com, and you can find the link to that in the Forbes post accompanying this broadcast on YouTube. If you're looking at this on YouTube or anywhere else, you should see the link in the description to the Forbes article where you can find the link to her book on Amazon. But Judy really is the foremost authority on networking really in the world. She's just an exceptional authority and a great person. Her book tells the story of how she did grow up in rural Idaho and decided that she wanted to expand her career. One of the early things she did was to recognize that she needed some finance experience. She was by profession early in her career working in I think it was psychology, and she was working in social services, and decided that she needed a little bit of finance experience, so she volunteered to serve on the finance committee of the United Way. And that gave her an opportunity to help manage a $3 million budget. She put that on her resume, and it really helped to advance her career. But along the way there, she served with the secretary to the governor of the state of Idaho and made a great connection there, putting her just one very strong connection away from one of the most powerful people in the state, and if not the country. A tremendous experience. So let me try again here to try and get her back. It's really a shame. We'll see if we can't get her back on the call here. We'll re-invite her. And we'll see if we can't get her back on board. So just a moment. We'll hope to get her reconnected. Judy has a unique model. She calls it her 550 and 150 rule, and it's really about how you manage that 150 contacts she was talking about. And her concept is that you put your 5 most important people on a list of people that you try to have contact with on a nearly daily basis, another 50 that you contact on a regular basis, at least monthly, and then a longer list of 100 people that you maintain contact with on a regular and strategic basis. By managing that list, recognizing that some people will be added and some will flow off over time, you can create a real powerful network. People that drop out of that list are still part of your network, and those weak links can be very powerful, she says in her book, and certainly that's the experience I've had. So great stuff. Again, we'll see if we can't get Judy back here. We'll try for one more minute to see if we can get her back. Trying to communicate with her via text here on one hand and talk to you on another. This is one of the challenges of producing the show all by myself, is that there is only me here. And so if I lose my guest, which frankly this has never happened before, the 300 interviews down, and this is the first time I've ever lost our only guest. So I'm not quite sure if we're going to get Judy back, but let me just wrap up with my take on Judy's book. It is brilliant. I've read it, and I'm grateful for the insights that it provides. There! It looks like maybe we've got Judy back.
Hello!
Judy, we were just about to give up on you, but I was explaining while you were gone. Did you go get ice cream? Is that what you did?
No. I was sitting here, and all of a sudden you were gone.
I'm sorry. So I apologize to you for that. But listen, I was explaining a little bit about the 550, 150 rule, but why don't you explain that?
Okay.
We get the proper spin on this.
Okay, so the first is the 5, and that tends to be the circle of your friends and close family, and it usually is 5 to 15. The next group up is more the people who you associate with in business. Hopefully you have that very robust across different sectors. And then the 100, and it is cumulative to 150 is the limit, the Dunford number that groups really start falling apart. And so I tell people it's really critical to focus on that 50. If you have 50 quality relationships of people that have your back and have your future, you can accomplish anything you need to, literally.
It really is powerful. I wonder if you could give us an example from your own experience about how your network has come in handy over the years.
Well, you know, so I tell people that it really is a combination of learning skills, which could be seen as hunting, being very strategic, and the other is skills that would be, as you would be seen as just consequential strangers, I call them. And a good example of the last one is after giving a speech in DC, I'm in the bathroom at the Ronald Reagan Airport and brushing my teeth, and this woman comes up and starts brushing her teeth, and I admire her raincoat, which is beautiful, and found out she'd been giving a speech also, and I found out she's the chair of the National Association of Corporate Directors of about 15,000 people. Well, fast forward, when I was working for a billionaire trying to open some strategic doors for him, of course she had all the people that I needed to open those doors for. And so if you have a robust network, which includes government, includes funding, includes media, you find out you can make anything happen. And that's where the term power connecting comes from. It's the power for you to make things happen for you or to make things happen for other people.
You know, it's beginning to make sense to me visiting with you in ways that I hadn't fully appreciated. That's really where the power comes from, your ability to do so many different things with your network. So it gets back to your earlier point where you started about being strategic with your network, doesn't it?
Yes. I have a simple formula, and it is the quality of your network plus strategy to a very specific goal. And a lot of people are just out there running into people or taking someone to dinner. Well, the problem is there's 7 billion people on the planet. And so you can waste a lot of time. So you need to have a strategy and be very clear. And where most people's network falls apart is they hit the wall. They either need a job, they need funding, and they have to go into that cold zone. And if they've not built a network that is robust, deep, and wide, that's usually where the problem starts. But it actually is a simple fix. Everyone has a network already. And the one thing that I teach people is to really mine the network you've already got. And I'll give you another example. Mike Muni, the co-founder of Act Software, flew out to meet with me. He has a wonderful software called VIP Orbit. It's the #1 app for contacts. And I'd never heard of it. And I said, Mike, what are you doing for marketing? And he said, you know, Judy, I would just give anything if I could get an article in Success Magazine. And I just sat up and I looked at him and I said, Mike, when you get home, I want you to call Wendy Keller, my agent, who you've known for many years, and tell her. One of Wendy's close friends is Darren Hardy, the publisher of Success Magazine. And he was stunned. He said to me, I had to fly all the way from Texas to Salt Lake to find out someone I already knew that person. And oftentimes that's the case.
See, that's the value you add to people, and one of the skills you teach in your book is this strategic way to add value by helping people make those connections, right, that will really benefit them.
Yes. And one of the important things, Devin, as a skill is I teach what I call the 2 golden questions. So you meet someone, you share your story, whatever it is, and question number 1, what other ideas do you have for me? Question number 2, who else do you know I should talk to? That gives you great information in context, plus additional, the best curated people you can find. And what you find is your network is a vortex going upward and outward, and this is how you have people that are...
Oh no. I was afraid of that we would lose Judy again. Given the time, I think we'll let Judy go, but it's been a great experience to have Judy. I hope you appreciate the insights that she's been offering us, and certainly I can see the value of that vortex as you use your network to reach out, up, to ever more influential people abroad. So, oh, Judy's back. Judy, we're just going to wrap up here so that we don't torture ourselves with the technology. But why don't you tell us where people can find your book and how to reach you on the internet?
You can find my book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and you can certainly look me up on LinkedIn. You can email me, judy@judyrobinett.com. And I do have a website, judyrobinett.com, and thank you all.
Well, thank you, Judy. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks.
Now let's do some good.